Hello, everybody, and welcome to another rousing edition of the greatest sports podcast known to man, woman, child, and any other walk of life. Call to the Bullpen with Jared Silberclight.
I am Chasey B.
And the best podcast host out there, Austin Keeney.
Hoorah! Well, we got another week of NFL recaps and previews. We're going to do a 2-for-1 all-in-one episode this week because of Thanksgiving football. We've got earlier Thursday games, so we just wanted to compound everything into one super episode this week. But before we get to that, we want to briefly touch on the Major League Baseball award winners, and of course I'm talking about the MVP and the Cy Young winners, which were confirmed last week. We crowned an AL MVP in Mookie Betts to pretty much nobody's surprise, and in a slightly tighter race, we had Christian Yelich taking the crown in the National League. Austin, what are your thoughts? I mean, Yelich really emerged as the leader on a resurgent Brewers squad that made a ton of noise. We talked about them throughout the summer, how all those free agent acquisitions and trade acquisitions were paying off, and got this team back to the playoffs and got them the top seed in the NL.
Yeah, I mean, Yelich was obviously a huge addition to that Brewers squad, and obviously brought him to a playoff race, which I honestly thought they should have gotten a lot farther in. I said my 2 cents about the two teams in the World Series, and really how I didn't want either of them to be in there because that was my least favorite pick for a matchup in the World Series this year. I would love to see the Brewers make it a little farther, but Yelich definitely helped that team in all aspects of the game of baseball other than pitching, really get them to where they unfortunately got, which wasn't far enough, but he was definitely one of the best players out there. So
Game 7 of the NLCS, and then remember that game 163 of the regular season when he was up with men on, and you and I were going back and forth with text messages because he was on the verge of clinching the Triple Crown. I think he was just a solo shot away from doing it.
Yeah, it was either a solo shot or like a double or something. He needed something away from clinching the Triple Crown. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so that was exciting. And then you have Mookie Betts, who was leading the AL in a bunch of statistical categories throughout the year. He missed a little bit of time due to injury, but when you take into account the power numbers, the batting average, along with his stellar defense, it was kind of a no-brainer. We talked about the fact that JD Martinez's power numbers were really impressive this year as far as average homers, RBI, but when you're only the DH, that's going to kind of knock you back in the race when you're contending with a guy who not only plays the field but does it at a very high level. And then moving on, we had the Cy Young Award winners. We had Ian Snell clinching it in the AL.
Blake Snell.
Blake Snell. I don't know why I said Ian Snell.
Neither do I.
That's a guy, though. I'm pretty sure that's a guy. And there we go.
Yes, there probably is an Ian Snell out there somewhere.
He is out there, and I'm sure he's a pitcher. I don't know why, but oh man,
Just move on.
Yeah, what a goof that was. But Blake Snell, everybody. I believe he was the AL ERA leader. Didn't hurl quite as many innings as some of the other contenders for this award. Personally, I would have liked to have seen Verlander or perhaps Kluber get it again, or I actually think that Garrett Cole might have been a slight snub because he was almost neck and neck with Verlander in terms of strikeouts. And I just think with Snell, his ERA was impressive, but when you don't have and strikeout numbers as well, but when you don't have the innings, I think you really need to be a horse to win this award. But nonetheless, he did have a great season. And Jacob deGrom, we said enough on him going into how he was the best pitcher in baseball this season. He had pretty much all-time horrible run support from the Mets, but still had a phenomenal year. We talked about before how pitchers really should not be judged by their win-loss record. I'm glad that we're getting away from that because you saw this year it's something that sometimes they just don't have control over.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Mets went 14-18 in all of DeGrom's starts this year, and he finished with a 10-9 record, but he had an ERA of 1.70, means that they lost with 1 or 2 runs scored against them in those, 32 starts. So the Mets went 14-18 with a pitcher that only allowed 2 or less runs the entire season, which is absolutely absurd. The fact that the Mets, which is a Major League Baseball team, cannot score more than 2 runs a game.
Yeah, it was. I mean, their offense was hopeless this year.
And that's not like one game. We're not saying they got shut out in a wild card. You're talking 32 baseball games they scored less than 2 runs in with their
More
best pitcher on the mound. I mean,
right.
he should have had 30 wins.
Yeah, without question. I mean, yeah, we saw it all season long. I mean, this was, like we said, all-time horrible run support. Just goes to show how inept the Mets were offensively this year. They had to deal with injuries as usual. But yeah, DeGrom still gets the award, well deserved. Speaking of starting pitching, getting away from the awards now, we had our first kind of major trade of the offseason as the Yankees have acquired James Paxton from the Seattle Mariners for a package that includes top prospect Justice Sheffield. I'm a little mixed on this trade. I know he was probably one of the better starting pitchers out there, but there's just something about Paxton. I really want an innings eater to come to the Yankees, and the fact that this guy has never thrown over 160 in a season before, and he has a little bit of injury history. I'm a little apprehensive.
A little bit.
Yeah.
He's injured. He's injured every season, like twice.
I was trying to sugarcoat it, but yeah.
No, there's no sugarcoating. He's a great pitcher. He hurls the ball. He's got great stuff. He's a lefty, which is a massive addition for the Yankees. The innings are bad though. I mean, we're talking about needing quality pitching on this in this Yankee rotation, and quality pitching that's going to last all season, so that we don't have to resort to guys in AAA to come up in late September, October starts. And here we are getting a guy that threw less than honestly, if I looked it up, probably half of the starting pitchers in the major leagues last year. I mean, 160 innings, and that's the most he's ever thrown. You look back, granted, it's gradually gotten better over what's he been in the league for 6 years, give or take, 5-6 years now.
Sure.
But I mean, that's just, and to give up Justice Sheffield, and there's the argument of, oh, well, we need the pitching now, we got to win now. All right, fine, we can win now, but to give up the best prospect in your farm system for one, I don't want to say mediocre, but one decent pitcher that may pitch half the season makes no sense to me. I don't disagree with getting Paxton. I don't think giving up Sheffield for Justin Sheffield. Yeah, Gary Sheffield. Who am I going to call him next? Justice Sheffield for James Paxton makes any sense, and especially 2 more guys, which, I mean, they were rosin bags in the grand scheme of things. But to give up your best prospect for one somewhat decent starter makes no sense to me. I feel like you could have given up a lot less for a lot more, or if you're going to give up Sheffield, at least get somebody crazy in return.
Agreed, and they seem to think that Paxton is that guy, that he is that ace pitcher they need to bring in. I'm like we've just said, we've got our reservations about him. The lack of consistency as far as staying healthy on the mound is a big concern, and I just think this is a classic Yankees panic move about we got to win now, we got to get whoever's out there, we got to add depth to this roster. But I just think ownership and Cashman, they don't realize how early this team has arrived. The fact that mid-2016, we're talking 2 years ago, they entered what was supposed to be a rebuild, and the very next season, they wind up 1 game from the World Series. Then, this past year, they won 100 games, a season where pretty much almost everybody either underperformed or was injured for part of the season. So this Yankees team that everybody complained about all season long, they still put together 100 wins. This team, although they're great, they're one of the best in baseball, they're still developing, and I think the answers lie within. I think that they've got some talent as far as young pitching goes. You see what Montgomery could potentially bring to the table when he returns from the Tommy John surgery. Sheffield was their top pitching prospect, and I'm disappointed that we won't get a chance to see him get opportunities on the mound in the majors. I know they said he had command issues, but at least I just feel like he could have been one of those guys who could have had an impressive spring training and worked his way into middle of the rotation spot, because I think what they really need is middle of the rotation help. If Severino continues his development, he could anchor the top half of that rotation. He got Tanaka in there. So I just think they need a little bit more patience.
Definitely, and I also, like I said, to reiterate what I said before, I feel like if you were going to give up a guy like Sheffield, it should have been for a little bit bigger name, or maybe even a top of the rotation kind of pitcher. I mean, there's rumors on the block of Syndergaard and guys like that, or even if you're looking for a Bryce Harper or a Machado, and we won't get into that too much right now, but I just feel like he could have been involved in so much bigger of a blockbuster trade than for a guy like Paxton. I mean, he's not a bad pitcher, don't get me wrong. I'm so worried that we're going to be in June and he's going to get hurt and miss 3-4 months, and there we go, we just gave up a top prospect for a guy that pitched for the first 2 months of the season. And then what, bring up another guy from AAA, which could have been Sheffield, to take the spot of somebody that you traded your best prospect away for.
It'll wind up being Loisaga.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, I get the whole you want to win now. We need the mature pitcher in the middle of the rotation now. We can't train this guy if we want to win the World Series this year. I don't see it. I don't want to say I disagree with the trade. I don't fully agree with who we gave up for it.
Yep, all totally understandable. We will see how it pans out, but for now, that is the first major trade of the MLB offseason, and as stated, we will keep it locked right here on Call the Bullpen with all your hot stove coverage throughout the winter months leading into spring training, of course. And yeah, that'll wrap up our baseball talk for this episode, and we're now going to launch right into NFL Week 11? Week 11?
Yes,
Week 11 recap,
Week
baby.
11 recap, baby. And let me propose something. I didn't drop this on you before we started recording. I say we start backwards, because there's one game that everybody wants to hear us talk about this week, and we're talking about the Monday night thrill ride between the Rams and the Chiefs, where they both scored a combined 105 points.
That's right. Yep, this was the first game ever where both teams scored over 50 points, and let's be honest, there wasn't a lot of defense in this game, but goddamn, there was a lot of offense, and it was really awesome to see. I mean, you saw explosive plays come from guys like Tyreek Hill, obviously. You have guys like Brandon Cooks on the other end. Patrick Mahomes threw for 6 touchdowns. Jared Goff answered with 4. I mean, it was just a lights-out game from start to finish. Really fun to see, and unfortunately for Austin and his betrothed, we'll call her, the Chiefs didn't come out on top.
Yeah. Well, my Giants came out on top this week, and we'll get to that one.
It
was an exciting game to say the least. My whole fantasy week was riding on this game. I had 7 out of 9 guys on my team playing in this game, and almost pulled it out. 190-point comeback and lost by 7 points. It's pretty crazy. But to say the least, it was one of the better football games I've watched in a long time. And it's weird because, Chase, when you said there really wasn't a lot of defense in this game, what's the crazy part is the fact that there were, I believe, if I'm correct, 3 defensive touchdowns and 7 combined turnovers on the defense, yet both teams still put up 54 and 51 points respectively. So
yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's crazy. It's hard to say that there was no defense in this game when this game might have had more defense than every other game in the entire season so far.
I think the best way to say it is that the teams have the capability to make big plays. However, they're not strong defensive fronts. You don't see these teams really bury teams like under 10, under 20. I know that's hard this time with the NFL, or this decade with the NFL, really. But you really can see that the Rams and the Chiefs, they don't try to stop you with their defense. They try to outscore you. And I was really surprised because Todd Gurley and Kareem Hunt, although they did get, pretty close to 100 yards in total offense, they weren't utilized as much as I thought they would be to slow down the other team. I think that both coaches and both teams pretty much said, all right, these guys are going to score on us, so we got to make sure we score more than them. And it pretty much just turned into a shootout, like right as the first quarter started. I believe the Rams went up 13, and then Patrick Mahomes led the Chiefs back to tie it within 5-8 game time minutes.
Yeah, definitely. And to follow up on that, I want to mention that I think that when both coaches got into that mindset, especially this, I mean this more for the Rams because they were ahead for more of this game than the Chiefs were. I think Sean McVay kind of missed out by not utilizing Gurley more. I think there were some opportunities where the Rams had leads in this game where he should have gotten a little bit more conservative with the play calling as far as just feeding Gurley and trying to keep the Chiefs off the field because Goff, while Jared Goff had a great game, I mean, you can't complain too much about a quarterback he completed 31 passes. He threw for over 400 yards. He didn't throw an interception. He threw 4 touchdowns. He had a terrific game, but he also had about 18 incompletions. He didn't have the most accurate day throwing it, and there were definitely moments where they coughed the ball up a little sooner than they should have without taking any time off the clock, and that's part of the reason why both teams scored so much is because they scored so fast. And that's got its benefits, it's got its drawbacks, and I think there were definitely moments, especially toward the end of this game, where there's no reason that the Chiefs should have gotten the ball back after the Marcus Peters interception late in the fourth quarter.
Absolutely not. That was poor clock management by Sean McVay. He went with, I believe, 3 pass plays on that drive. It was just you try to be strong, you try to be quick-witted. And sometimes it's better off just to hand it to your bull you got in Todd Gurley. I mean, this guy had been running for he was averaging, I believe, 5 yards a carry at this time. So you only had to hand it off to him twice, and the game would have been over.
Of course,
didn't end up costing him, but really, if the Chiefs did end up coming back and winning that game, I'm sure that would have been talked about for weeks to come.
Absolutely, and going back to talk about the defense a little bit. I mean, we were arguing about this over text message throughout the game, but I think, Chase, you summed it up when you said that both teams have more so the Rams have the capacity to generate those big defensive plays because although they haven't been a dominant unit this year, which is pretty much to the surprise of a lot of people because you've got a defensive front that's filled with nothing but first rounders with, Brockers and Aaron Donald and Sue and now adding Fowler on that line. I mean, that should be an impenetrable defensive line right there, but they haven't been able to shut down opposing offenses. Nonetheless, when you've got guys like that and guys like Peters in the secondary that can generate those game-changing defensive plays, we saw with the forced fumble from Donald and the late interception by Marcus Peters, in a game like this, you're able to get those few stops, those few turnovers, they can make all the difference.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say something a little bit controversial here, and I said it to the viewing party that I was watching this game with. I don't think that either of these teams make the Super Bowl with this defense. I believe that they are going to have to turn it around immensely. You could see it with the Saints currently. The Saints defense is coming together as a unit. They're not they're not allowing a lot of points against teams like the Bengals, which is exactly what you need to do. You need to play these teams hard on both sides of the football. You can't just rely on your gunslingers to go out and win your football games. And I think it's going to cost these teams in the end, in the playoffs, especially when defenses pretty much are known to travel more so than offenses are.
I would agree with that, especially considering that the Rams offense was putting on a heck of a show last year as well. And you saw what happened in their first playoff game. It got, some people would say they got a little stage fright. It was the first playoff game for a pretty new team, a new coach, and their offense kind of got shut down by the Falcons, who had that experience coming off the Super Bowl appearance. And we've seen it time and time again that defense wins in the postseason. I will say that I think home field advantage is going to be key for the Rams. If they get the 1 seed, I like their chances a lot more than if they get the 2 seed, because if the playoffs have to run through New Orleans, I'm almost 100% confident they're making the Super Bowl. That's how it's always been with them in the postseason. They live and die by their seeding. And the Chiefs kind of have a history of playoff failures. Not only that, but this is a team that's struggled to qualify for even a conference championship game in years where they've had very good regular seasons. So there's definitely cause for concern.
I wouldn't also forget about the Bears, who are now leading the NFC North. They have a defense that can cause some serious problems, and I'll tell you what, if Khalil Mack is tackling you in under a second, you're not going to be able to throw the ball down the field like these two teams have been. So watch out for the Bears. That's going to be my sleeper pick this year. I don't have them winning the whole thing, but I could definitely see them upsetting one of these two teams. Or I'm sorry, either the Saints or the Rams.
Yep, no doubt about that. With that, I believe we all picked the Rams in this game. Is that right, Austin?
Yes.
I believe he did because
Yes,
we had
Rams.
that controversial. Let's see if my wife listens to this
Oh yeah,
podcast.
that is right.
Yeah.
And did she? Was there a conclusion?
I don't know. She said she did, and then I called her out on it, and there was kind of this little, I listen to them, but I don't listen sometimes at work, and it was one of those, you know?
I'll give her the benefit of the doubt
Yeah,
because that was
same.
towards the end of the show.
That's fair.
Yep. So yeah, we all picked the Rams, and now we're gonna work. We're gonna jump to the beginning of the week actually. The Rams topple the Chiefs 54-51. We all picked them, and moving on, we're gonna go to the start of the week, which was the Thursday night game between the Seahawks and the Packers. The Seahawks won this game 27-24. Not much of a dramatic conclusion here, though. We had some pretty poor clock management from the Packers, which resulted in them only having one timeout leading into the final 10 and a half minutes of this game, which is never a good formula on the road. So that was, yeah, it kind of put the team at a disadvantage. And then you have a very controversial coaching decision by Mike McCarthy when the Packers, they failed to convert and they were facing a fourth down with just about 4 minutes to go. But when you only have one timeout remaining, that changes things a lot. And the decision to punt was just not the right move at all. I mean, you want to put the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands at that point. You cannot trust a very depleted, ineffective Green Bay defense. So now you talk about Aaron Rodgers, the frustration really has to be mounting for him in Green Bay when you consider the Rams game where Ty Montgomery takes the ball out of his hands. And now here in Seattle, the head coach takes the ball out of his hands. And both those losses, very, very narrow on the road.
Yeah, I don't think that the team is to blame. I think that Aaron Rodgers is just a part of pretty much a unit that isn't going to be good enough to do anything special this year. He's his defensive pieces. He's got some young rookies on the cornerbacks, and Clay Matthews. He's a veteran pass rusher, but really he hasn't done as much as his namesake really does. Like you think of Clay Matthews and you think one of the elite pass rushers, and it just hasn't been like that for the past couple of years. So unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers isn't surrounded with enough weapons on defense or offense to really make a push into the playoffs. I mean, it is Aaron Rodgers, and he's a miracle worker, and we see him throw the ball down the field for Hail Marys, and it's not going to be enough this year, and I think that we're finally starting to see that. We all are Aaron Rodgers believers in the beginning of the year, but as the season goes on, we all see it's just not going to pan out for the Packers this year, especially with a loaded NFC North. As for the Seahawks, I think that they really have a chance to steal that last spot. And honestly, that's against my own words because I was the one that was talking them down and you were talking them up, Jared. So the Seahawks look like they're primed for that last position. They're running the ball good. Their defense is playing hard-nosed football. I mean, that's a recipe for a potential playoff run, in my opinion.
Oh, without question. I mean, you talk about the fact that pretty much any team that has a franchise quarterback and a smart, seasoned, experienced head coach, they're going to have a chance to make noise. And you're seeing that over in the AFC with the Colts, who came into this year with a pretty unimpressive squad, but they're riding Andrew Luck. But now when you talk about the pieces around Russell Wilson, they're starting to come alive in that multifaceted run attack. And plus the fact that the thing about the Seahawks is this. I don't think that they're equipped for a playoff run because they thrive at home. They thrive in that 12th-man atmosphere in Seattle. That place gets really, really loud. The fans are crazy. And right now, they're staring down what's almost guaranteed to be a wild card slot. So I don't have a ton of faith in this team to make a run on the road. But nonetheless, I think a wild card appearance would surprise a lot of people.
I mean, you got to keep in mind that two of their losses are to the conference leading NFC Rams. Two of their losses are to them. And I believe they lost to the Saints as well. So I'll double check that stat, but 2 or 3 of their losses are to one-loss teams. So this Seahawks team might be much better than we really think.
Yeah, no doubt. Austin, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like you guys just said, the Seahawks are definitely a team that I feel like a lot of people slept on this year, and I did too. I definitely picked against them on a couple games that they pulled out. And it's I don't want to say it's surprising to see. The Packers are falling apart here. They're I don't think Aaron Rodgers has the weapons that he used to have And between a running game and his receivers and even their defense was a little bit more elite than it is now. And Clay Matthews is getting old. They traded away Clinton Dix. So just small pieces that build that team together. And I really think they're gearing for a rebuild in the next few years here. So, I see the Seahawks really being a playoff contender, and unfortunately the Packers falling apart at the end of the season here.
So I looked up there who they lost to, the Seahawks. They lost to the Rams twice. They lost to the Chargers, who are 7-3, and they lost to the Bears, who are also 7-3. So,
well, who was the fifth loss?
Oh, it was to the Broncos in Week 1. They lost by a field goal. So we take that game out of the way because they're 4-6, and I'm a Broncos fan. I'll tell you right now, it's hard to win in Denver. So that's a tough loss.
And the Broncos are always good at the beginning of the season too. That's their thing. They always start off like 2-0.
Yeah. So this Seattle team really is going under the radar. It could be potentially a playoff run, in my opinion.
Dare we say they could pull this one out?
They could indeed pull this one out, and not only that. I think that the Seahawks will beat the. Let's see who would be playing against them. They would be playing against either the Bears or against the
sad sack coming out of the NFC East.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Cowboys or the Giants.
That's right. We are in the conversation.
I guess they have to be. They're not technically eliminated yet.
No, we're not. And with that, the Seahawks take the win 27-24. I picked the Seahawks. Chase and Austin both picked the Packers. And moving on, we have the Lions, surprisingly, some would say, edging out the Panthers at home, winning this one 20-19. And fellas, this is the year of the kicker, and this is your obligatory kicker blows the game for his team game of the week, because you have Graham Gano. He missed an extra point. Then he missed a field goal. Then Ron Rivera apparently decides, I have no faith in this guy to get the job done. So we got the potential game-tying touchdown. We're going to go for the win with a 2-point conversion. Didn't get it. So you leave 5 points on the table, and you lost by 1.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ron Rivera didn't really have much of a choice, in my opinion. I mean, he couldn't trust his kicker at the time. So he went with Cam Newton, who is he's his guy. Like, he's the one that goes out there and wins the games for him. He put it in his hands, and honestly, Cam Newton missed the throw. It's plain and simple. The guy was wide open for the 2-point conversion, and Cam simply missed the throw. So I don't put that on Riverboat Ron. He's known for gambling. He's known for taking those chances. Riverboat Ron, yeah. So it's on Cam, and Cam knows it. It's just one of those games where you take a shot, and unfortunately it didn't fall their way.
Yeah, and I'm going to give a little bit of props to Detroit, though. The fact that everybody was dogging them after they traded away Golden Tate, but Galladay has really stepped up in his absence, and Kerryon Johnson has actually emerged as one of the more underrated running backs in the league the last couple weeks. So this offense could have easily fallen apart, losing a big playmaker like that, and the fact that they've actually been pretty all right says a lot.
Well, let's not forget that Detroit plays a lot better at home. I mean, they've already beat the Patriots, and I believe they beat the Vikings as well at home. Yeah, it's the Vikings. So they beat the Patriots and the Vikings at home. Now they can add the Panthers to that list. Detroit is definitely a team to be trifled with in the absence of being in the presence of being home. When they are away, they are dreadful. Kind of like my Broncos, actually.
Broncos are pretty just dreadful in general.
4-6, still got a chance.
That's fair. I mean, some Lions players that weren't really a thing to start the season, if you will, are really emerging in their roles and stepping up to win some of these games for them. I mean, it's, Kenny Galladay's on my fantasy team. Fortunately, I benched him. I probably would have won if I played him. But guys like you said, Jared Galladay and Kerryon Johnson, and you have to give some props to the guy under center there. He's stepping up and making a name for himself once again, and really giving the Lions a chance to win some of these games. And for the Panthers, yeah, it is a year of the kicker, and the kicker missed a couple points here and there, but the Panthers have been hot and cold all season. They'll win games by a lot, they'll lose games by a lot, they'll win and lose by a little here and there. They're really not consistent at all this year. Even so much so to say, I'm looking at this next week's game and I'm like, do I even trust them to pull this one out? So it's tough. The Panthers are very wishy-washy this year, and they really need to try to pick something up and solidify their offense and their defense to be a little bit more consistent on both sides of the ball.
Oh yeah, back-to-back losses has the questions start popping up, so they got to get back on track, but they're obviously still in a very good position as far as controlling their own destiny in the wild card race. And in that particular game, we all picked the Panthers, so we were all wrong. How about that? Lions win 20-19. They go to 4-6. And we got the Steelers beating the Jaguars 20-16. And for 3 quarters, guys, Saxonville was back. I mean, the offense, Leonard Fournette put the team on his back, carrying the load. They were getting turnovers. Big Ben was having the worst day of his life, throwing 3 picks. Everything was all sunshine and rainbows. And then the fourth quarter happened.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for the Jaguars, football games are 4 quarters long. And also, the only reason why they came out super aggressively hot is because they knew they wanted to bring it to the Steelers. They brought it to the Steelers in the AFC divisional game, and they ended up winning that game. It was a little bit different. That game was a high-scoring affair, and this one it was the absolute opposite. But I think we learned that Big Ben, Antonio, James Conner, and that Steelers defense, they're the real deal. They can win the games away from home, and they can win the tough, gritty games that are low scoring. This is an eye-opening game for me, and the Steelers' chances of winning the whole thing.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the Steelers this season are better without Le'Veon Bell, and it's not just as far as the statistical production of James Conner, because we've already established that he's produced at the level that they would have expected Le'Veon to deliver at as far as putting up the numbers and getting in the end zone. But I think as far as this team coming together and rallying around each other and not letting this guy who's trying to make a commotion and make it all about himself and be selfish and hold out for money and hang out in Miami while this team is in the trenches, I think that brought this team closer together as a unit, as a family. And you could tell, you don't win a game like this on the road when it's not just you're losing going into the fourth quarter. When you've been shut out, your offense has failed to develop any kind of rhythm really all day. So to be able to immediately flip the switch like that, I think it shows this is a tough team. And the teams that win championships, you got to be tough. So the Steelers, they have that little extra oomph behind them. I like them better than last year's team.
Yeah, I think I like them better than last year's team too. And you're absolutely right saying that the team is bonded more with Le'Veon's absence. They all believe in each other now, and I think James Conner made it clear that he knew that it was a team sport, and it wasn't about how good he was as a running back, but it was also about how well the offensive line blocks for him. And those guys up front, they don't get enough credit for really all they do for their running backs. So I'm glad to see. I believe the first touchdown by James Conner, I remember, he went directly to his offensive lineman and started celebrating with them. He didn't do any selfish dancing or taunting or whatever. He went right to his offensive lineman, thanked him, and they cheered together. So that's what it's all about. And the Steelers are really rallying. So I'd watch out for them. They got just as much talent as any team in the AFC, in my opinion. So they got a big chance to take it all home this year. With that one, I took the Jaguars. So yeah. So me and Jared are wrong there. Austin took the Steelers there.
Yep.
So Austin gains one on this. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I don't do very well this week. It was a very bad week for me. So next up, we got the Cowgirls at the Falcons. Yep, that's written down as Cowgirls.
We can all bond over how wrong we were here.
Yeah, the Cowboys. What is happening right now? The Cowboys are actually good? The Cowboys are actually a chance to win the division now?
Listen. It's all
Cowboys better than we thought they were going to.
It's all part of the plan. I said this a few weeks ago. The Cowboys, we love to make fun of them, but this is never a horrible team. They are an okay, decent team that loses the big game at the end of the season and knock them out of the playoffs. And you can't do that if you're 5-10 coming into Week 17. You gotta be 8-7. You gotta put yourself in position for that heartbreaker. Oh, we were this close. We were this close. So guess what? They were 3-5. Now they got those 2 wins to put them back on track against 2 mediocre teams. The clock really fell in their favor here. You could tell by the time the Falcons tied this one up. You're like, there's just enough time for a Cowboys game-winning drive here. And their defense did come to play on the road against a good offense. I don't want to take anything away from them. But
well, their defense is coming along now, and I think that Jason Garrett gets the message that, hey, we got to give Ezekiel Elliott the ball as much as we can. I mean, that's how you're going to win this game. You're going to give Ezekiel Elliott the ball 25 times, whether it's through the air, through handing it off to him, and then you rely on your defense to get some serious sacks. I mean, their pass rush looks so much better than it has previously. And was Sean Lee even in this game? Because I'm pretty sure he got hurt.
No, he's been out for a few weeks.
Yes, they did it without Sean Lee, too, in Atlanta against a high-powered offense. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Austin?
I mean, like I said a few minutes ago, the Cowboys are definitely a team that look a lot better than anybody expected them to look. And Chase, you made a great point right there. Without Sean Lee, they still played a very good, productive defense against a high-scoring Falcons team. And honestly, the Falcons really haven't been playing a great offense the last few weeks. So maybe we can contribute the low score to that a little bit. However, the Cowboys did look very good, and Elliott, 122 rush yards and a touchdown, another 75 yards receiving, so almost is that just shy of a 200-yard game? No, that is a 200-yard game if I could do math. I think he beat it by a yard. So, a very productive day by Elliott, and Chase, you're right. They just need to keep handing the ball to him. He is their workhorse. And, if Prescott's not going to do it through the air, let Elliott do it on both sides of the ball.
Yep. That is the winning formula for the Cowboys. Personally, I think that, like I said, they got themselves right where they want to be, because this is just about the time they always peak in November. Like, oh yeah, here come the Cowboys. This is gonna be it, right? This is gonna be their year. I feel like it's gonna be another December in the doldrums. But that being said, I'd be lying if I said they shouldn't be considered the favorites in the NFC East right now, just because they're only a game behind Washington, and Washington has lost well. We'll get to them, but that team is in shambles right now. So Cowboys nonetheless get to 500, back-to-back road wins. So good for them. We all picked the Falcons. Moving on, we had the Ravens beating the Bengals 24-21 by utterly trampling them. They ran it. They absolutely ran it down their throats. Lamar Jackson, everybody, they handed the ball off to him 20. He took it 27 times.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson's the real deal. He's got talent that I will never even dream of having. That talent mostly comes through running the ball and not so much through passing the ball. So I think that teams are going to have to learn how to defend against him. However, I think that it's going to take a little while for teams to get used to him. You see guys like Tim Tebow, Cam Newton, they always have successful first years with that running game from the quarterback position and able to make plays on their feet. And then defenses kind of know how to plan for them. They know how to attack them, how to control them, keep them in the pocket. So I think the Ravens might have lightning in a bottle here, and they'll be able to really ride with Lamar Jackson, because I don't see Joe Flacco coming back this year. I think they're going to just roll with the rookie. They might have a chance to make the playoffs with him. I don't know if they'll be able to do anything with it, but I think they have a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, the rookie didn't look that bad, to be completely honest. And honestly, based off of everybody who listens and knows my hatred towards Joe Flacco, I would much rather see somebody else under center for the Ravens than Joe Flacco. So seeing a young rookie quarterback get in there, and I think he's the last of his draft class to make their first start. So that's a big accomplishment for him, getting in there for the first time and, proving that he can win football games.
Yeah, with Lamar, I think, Chase, you raised an excellent point, because we've seen, everybody says you got to be mobile, but nobody says you got to be like this as far as running the ball as much as a running back would when you're a quarterback. I think that the formula for long-term success, if you're this type of passer in the league, is the Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson route, where you've got those quarterback fundamentals. Yes, you've got the athleticism to pop off those runs and move out of the pocket when needed, but that shouldn't be the essence of your game plan, because teams, they're going to figure it out after a little bit. It doesn't take more than a season or so to get used to it. So if Lamar, I think if he should strive to follow that kind of Russell Wilson formula as far as his long-term prospects, if he's going to have success in this league and build a sustained career. But nonetheless, this was very exciting to watch, and I would expect you're going up against a very depleted Oakland Raiders team this coming week. We're probably going to see more of that, so I think that this could be a very fun, revamped, and re-energized Ravens offense to watch the rest of the year, regardless of whether or not they qualify for the postseason. So with that game, we all took the Ravens, and the Bengals, they keep slumping.
Yeah, Bengals fans, close your eyes because I don't think it gets much better for you guys.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's night at the Cincinnati Zoo.
At the zoo, oh boy.
Oh boy. And, next up, I've been waiting a long time to say this. The New York Giants. The New York Football Giants have
Giants, and I'm so sick of the fact that I have to listen to this right now.
They only won by 3, everyone. They only beat the Buccaneers by 3 points, and Jameis Winston came back in the game and almost led a heroic comeback.
He almost did, but the Giants were dominating this game through 3 quarters. The Bucs were rallying. They do have, people forget, they do have the most productive offense in the NFL in terms of yards per game. It doesn't look that way.
Shocking.
I know, it's shocking, but that's because this team doesn't finish. And in the second half, with Jameis Winston throwing the ball because Fitz got benched after throwing 3 interceptions, including a pick 6. So the quarterback identity crisis continues. It's hot and cold. It's almost like the New York Yankees, where how George Steinbrenner would hire and fire Billy Martin all over again. The Bucs can't make up their mind as far as who they want to be.
I can't believe you just related the Buccaneers quarterback dilemma to Billy Martin.
Yeah, that's pretty obscure.
That was a stretch, bro.
Yeah, I'm thinking about hot and this or that decisions in sports. So it was a stretch, but it totally worked. But the Giants offense, I gotta say, as a fan here, I know that the Bucs defense, can't stop a nosebleed, but I was euphoric watching this game because finally the Giants offense performed at the level of what they've been capable of all season long. I mean, it's amazing what getting personal flowers off this team does for their offensive line, especially bringing in Jamon Brown, who helps them so much on the right side of that line as far as run blocking goes. And now Saquon, you're opening up holes for him. You make it easy for Eli Manning. I mean, he had literally 1 incompletion today. And Saquon even admitted, I've caught that ball before. I should have had it. But other than that, 17 of 18, a couple touchdowns. Saquon hit the end zone 3 times. Odell, he scored. They're getting they're getting the ball around to Shepard and Fowler. They put up 38 points, which is their highest point total in I believe 3 or 4 years. And it was just it gave you so much. It gave you a look at what could be with this team. And not only that, but at 3-7, things don't look great, but they've got a pulse. They're in a position where they don't have a lot of room for error, but you can say at this point they are playing. They have meaningful football games ahead of them. If they're kind of, I'm not going to say entirely in control of their own destiny, but if they're able to somehow pop off a winning streak, Odell said that they're going to win out.
I think they have as much of a pulse as a dead body on a slab in a morgue. That's how much of a pulse they have. I don't think there's any chance they make the playoffs in any way, shape, or form. Maybe they win another few games, but I have zero faith in the fact that they can win enough games to make the playoffs.
They got to win all of them.
They literally have to win every single game. And the only team that's going to win every single game?
Who's that?
I don't know. You tell me.
The only team that's got to win out.
Come on.
The Houston Texans.
There it is. There it is. I was waiting for that. The Houston Texans. Yeah, they're going to win out because they won again.
Well, I'm going to take a page out of your book. The Giants have to win out. And if they do, you're gonna be talking about this team for a long time. Even if they go 1-done in the playoffs, to go from 1-7 to potentially, oh god, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but basically,
Yeah.
this
They've won
they beat,
2 games, bro.
They beat the 49ers.
To go from 1-7 to 3-7, it's like, oh my god, like they won.
However,
they won 2 games.
I have looked at their schedule. It's not that hard.
No, it's not the worst schedule in the world, and
Yeah.
I'll agree with that much because I did look at their schedule also, and like I can't even be quoted on air saying that there's a chance. It's not. They're not playing the Chiefs. They're not playing the Rams. They're not playing. The even like the Colts, who look really good right now. I don't think they play the Colts rest of the season.
They do play the Colts actually.
They can play the Colts
I feel like I saw that. But yeah, I mean
the hardest team they have to play is the Eagles, and the
Which is
Eagles
this
are
week.
They play the Bears as well, but
Eagles
the Bears game is at home. So the Bears could be due for a comeback.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's the
tough.
one you're gonna have to watch.
Yeah, it will be tough, but really, honestly, they just got to take it one game at a time because I'll tell you this much. The season is on the line pretty much every week, and you get a huge game against Philly this week that's kind of, all right, are we going to keep this going? Because if they fall back, it's not only about losing a game, it's about going to 0-4 in the division. So this is absolutely a must-win game. I'm going to go as far as say the season's over if they can't beat Philly. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But nonetheless, Giants go to 3-7. Bucks go to 3-7. We all had the Giants. Austin had them against his will. He flipped a coin.
Yeah.
That was a coin flip, literally. For those who didn't watch, for those who didn't listen to last week's episode, I flipped a coin to see who I was going to pick in this game, and I was right on the Giants.
Hoorah.
So,
well, yeah. So
Should we just initiate a coin flip? Like we'll flip a coin on every game and see what their record ends up turning bit. We'll call it like the coin or something like that.
The house pick.
Yeah, the house pick.
Ooh, it's like the dummy hand when you're playing poker.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I like it. You know what? Let's implement it this week in the second half of this episode. We are going to implement a coin flip for the dummy pick, if you will.
I like it.
I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. I got good ideas. Now, if only people could vote on the wheel of punishment.
Yeah, well, we got one, but it was run naked through a golf course and have people shoot paintballs at you in the freezing cold weather. So I'm not really sure I want to do that.
I think that's
still not against.
Let's just say that we're not against pain and suffering, but we are against getting ourselves arrested. So
true.
Yeah, that is where we draw the line. But moving on, Giants win 38-35. Texans defeated the Redskins in Washington 23-21, but that is not the news coming out of this game.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room here.
All right, so I'm going to throw this out there because I don't know if, Jared, you saw every statistic about what happened. So for those who are listening and aren't aware, Alex Smith is out for the rest of the season. And to be completely honest, I don't want to say his career might be over, but there's a solid chance that he might not play football again.
Hey, his heel's where his toes should be.
He broke his tibia and his fibula in his leg, which is coincidental and ironic and extremely spooky because he played for the Redskins. He broke the same 2 bones that Joe Theismann broke. Joe Theismann was at the game watching this happen. It happened on the same yard line that Joe Theismann broke the same 2 bones in his leg. When Joe Theismann broke the 2 bones in his leg, the Redskins lost 23-21, and Alex Smith broke his 2 bones in his leg, and the Redskins lost 23-21. So not only was it the same 2 bones for the same team on the same yard line with the same final score, while both of them were in the stadium. I mean, you tell me that's
you're missing the biggest of all.
Hell.
It was 33 years to the day.
Yes, you're right. 33 years to the day. That was the other one. You're 100% right. It was 33 years to the day that Joe Theismann his injury happened also.
Is this team cursed?
I mean, it's got to be. Hell, I'd pick up the stadium and move.
Yeah, at this rate. Maybe that's what it is, right? Because they're Redskins and like the Indian tribe might have cursed them.
Oh my lord! It's a Indian tribe witch doctor
for Thanksgiving too.
Oh man, is that where Jimmy Hoffa's buried too?
I don't think so.
Damn.
And
then I solved the mystery. I wanted the reward.
Just in time for a classic renewal of Cowboys Redskins, Cowboys and Indians on Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
How have I been watching football for this long and I didn't realize that that's what they put? You know, our country is a little bit messed up, huh?
Yeah, just a bit.
Just a little bit, man. But on a more positive note, if you take the glass half full approach to this game, the Texans continue to win out.
Yes, they do, baby. I said it at 0-3, and they are 7-3. I didn't graduate college, but that's a 7-game winning streak, gentlemen.
A 7-game ugly winning streak because
listen,
ugly wins in a row.
Listen, ugly? Yes. Is there a W instead of an L next to their name? Yes. You know what makes the playoffs? Ugly football wins.
W's.
And they're back. And they're back to back.
Who else is from Texas? W. George W. Bush. You know what the Texans got? A W again.
Bang.
They sure did. That is back-to-back road wins against tough defenses. So got to give credit to them. You know, the good teams win when they don't have their best stuff. So this game, you had a lot of turnovers, 4 interceptions between the two starting quarterbacks, and now the Redskins are stuck with Colt McCoy running the show with a depleted offensive line.
Not Colt McCoy.
Nope.
Mark Sanchez, baby.
Oh, yeah, we forgot to mention that they signed him just in time for the 6-year anniversary of the butt fumble.
Yes, and somebody, because the internet is as savage as it is, already photoshopped him in a Redskins jersey running into a Redskins lineman, butt fumbling.
But it's worth noting that Colt McCoy is the starting quarterback.
Yes, Colt McCoy is the starting quarterback.
You can mark my words. Mark Sanchez, will play in this game on Thursday. Somehow, I don't know if it's an injury or Colt McCoy throws 3 interceptions in the first quarter. Somehow, Mark Sanchez will see the field.
God, the fact that you just said the words Mark Sanchez will see the field made the hairs on my arm stand up. That is gross.
Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Well, so the Texans, because they're the team of destiny, they won 23-21 in this game. We all picked them. Moving on, the annoying Tennessee Titans got utterly humiliated, destroyed, flattened, smushed, stomped out all over Indianapolis because the Colts won 38-10.
Yeah,
Fellas,
this game got out of hand fast. And I know Marcus Mariota actually ended up getting hurt and removed from the game, but they later came out and said that it was just a contusion or something like that. So I honestly think that they were just getting boat raced, and they're like, all right, take Mariota out because we don't want anything bad to happen. This game was ugly.
Did you say boat raced?
Boat race, yes.
I've never heard that term in my life.
Yeah, no, it means like just getting absolutely pummeled.
Wow.
Yeah. So
boat race.
Andrew Luck looks fantastic. They have a running game finally. And T.Y. Hilton came alive for the first time all year, or maybe the second time all year.
And Andrew Luck, this is his 7th straight game with at least 3 touchdown passes.
He's good. It's like we didn't forget. Like I didn't forget. Maybe you guys forgot.
Well, no, but this is a no.
He was good.
We all knew he was very good, but I mean, hey, that's an impressive stretch. A really impressive stretch considering what he has to work with. I mean, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have those kinds of numbers right now, and everybody says that, you look at who would you most want to have as far as starting quarterbacks go, him. So for Andrew Luck to be doing this with his supporting cast, very impressive.
People forget that he used to face Tom Brady every year in the divisional round. Every year he used to face Tom Brady in the divisional round because he was that good that he would take his crappy Colts teams to the playoffs.
Yeah, true. And now the Colts are in position to where, I mean, they're 5-5. They're right in it. Who would have thought?
Yeah,
they
are 5-5, which is which is sad. A very good record this year. I mean, 5-5 usually looks ugly, and we're like, oh man, they could and probably will make the playoffs.
5-5
so far.
5-5 is a playoff spot right now,
which is ridiculous.
So right now you've got this is the AFC wildcard picture. You got the Chargers 7-3. They're pretty safe. So the Colts, they've risen to 5-5. The Titans, they're 5-5 too. Obviously no one's high on them after what just happened, but they're in it. The Ravens are 5-5. The Bengals are 5-5. The Dolphins are 5-5. It's the 5-5-5 deal from Subway.
Isn't that Little Caesars?
Yeah, or Domino's.
Oh, come on. I guess I didn't have that joke as hot and ready as I thought.
No, it was.
Is it Little Caesars? I think it's Little
He
Caesars.
just said hot ready.
Hot and ready.
Oh my god!
Wow, I think we just plugged like 8 different companies, and I want some sponsorship. No, there was a lot of free plugs there, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not delivery; it's DiGiorno's.
Jesus, Jared, we're not getting paid for these things, man. Come on, work for the money.
Hold on, real podcast, real ingredients. Papa John's.
I hate you.
That's incredible. Oh
man. Alrighty.
Super hot, super fresh.
That was, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of myself. So yeah, everybody, the Titans are doing tight. They felt the wrath of the Colts here, 38-10. Both teams are 5-5. Chase and Austin had the Colts. I had the Titans. So yeah, that's the way that cookie crumbled. Next we had the Broncos at the Chargers, and the Broncos edged them out.
Hell yeah, they did.
Take it away, Chase.
Sure did. Do you want me to go on here? Okay, I'll go.
Yeah. Come on, your team won.
Well, I figured you were the team that you picked them, so I thought
they're your baby. They're your baby.
The Broncos did not deserve to win this game. They were getting outplayed by the start of the first quarter to the end of the third. And I mean, Phillip Rivers threw for over 400 yards. Melvin Gordon had, over 150 yards of scrimmage yards. And Keenan Allen had himself a day. Keenan Allen, and Jared, you have him on fantasy, rarely has days anymore.
Yeah,
and
he had
a
a rare touchdown this season, and it came against the Broncos defense, so I wasn't expecting that.
So you look at this stat line, Case Keenum only threw for 205 yards, and you wonder, how the hell did the Broncos win this game? And it really was just defensive plays. Von Miller had a pick. They had a lot of sacks on the quarterbacks. I think Phillip Rivers threw another pick to Chris Harris. Philip Lindsay ran for 2 touchdowns in this game, and it came down to a last-second kick that Brandon McManus finally actually hit one. It was about time because he had probably 3 this year that he missed. So, I mean, I'm going to enjoy the win. It keeps the Broncos technically in playoff contention, which is awesome because I get to root for the Broncos for another week because I don't think I'm going to have very many weeks left of that.
Counting down.
Yeah. So it was a great win for Broncos fans. The Chargers, they're going to be a little upset by it because it probably puts them out of the division contest with the Chiefs because now they're going to have to hope that the Chiefs lose another game, which I don't think that they're going to. So unfortunately for the Chargers, they're out of the division, but they still they're playing the Chiefs twice.
Well, no, they're not. But I believe they're only 1 game back of them in the loss column right now.
Yeah, but the Chiefs haven't lost a division game besides. So even if they lost to the Chargers, the Chargers would still have 2 division losses.
So if they both were to win out apart from the Chiefs losing to the Chargers, they'd have the same division record, correct?
No.
No?
No, the Chiefs only lost 1 game.
The Chargers have lost. Yep, the Broncos you're right, that matters. Yeah, that's that does set them back.
The Chargers are pretty much firmly in on that 5-6 spot.
Yeah, you're right on that. And they just felt like a wild card. This just the way Kansas City's been playing. The Chargers just didn't strike me as that team because again they've had a very good season, but they've kind of fed off of lesser competition, and their losses have come against the best teams, but I think that just shows they're not one of the NFL's elite teams. They got a lot of talent, but I just don't think that they strike fear in the hearts of opponents as far as a team that's going to tear you limb from limb like the Chiefs could. So, and this is a game they got Joey Bosa back too, so that makes it even more impressive that Denver pulled it out. But yeah, this is a game that's going to come back to haunt them at the end of the year. And yeah, the Broncos go to 4-6, so they win 23-22. And moving on, we have the Raiders at the Cardinals in another rousing edition of Tank Bowl. Word to the Urinating Tree YouTube channel for that one. But the Raiders won a game. Good for them. This stunk. I mean, who wanted to watch this?
Absolutely no one.
And even the Raiders fans get upset because they lose a draft pick.
Exactly.
Spot.
No, not only did they lose 1 draft pick spot, all 3 of their draft pick spots dropped because of where they came from.
Because the Cowboys winning.
because the Cowboys won,
Okay.
because the Bears won,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and because the Raiders won.
Yeah, that Bears pick now looks like it might be like in the 30s.
That's my point. All of those picks drop from where they should have been because the Raiders won their own, what potentially could have been a 1-2-3 pick goes even farther down. The Bears, like you just said, could be somewhere in the 30s, and the Cowboys, maybe a mid-tier pick at this point of 15, 16, somewhere in that range. So because all three teams won, including the Raiders, all three of those picks, or four or whatever, however many freaking first-round draft picks are up at this point, all drop in value.
Also,
every Raiders fans cry.
Yes.
And it's worth noting that Derek
won, but it really actually hurts our team in the long run.
Correct, because these wins are completely irrelevant.
They're irrelevant.
They're literally irrelevant.
Just accept
Just
the
throw
tank.
it. Literally throw it. Put Derek Carr on the bench, have him play like the first and half of the second, make it a preseason game, get everybody their stretches in, get some runs in, keep in shape, and play a bunch of backups so nobody gets hurt and move on to next year. The season's over, tank and move. Literally and figuratively, pick up your team and get to Vegas already.
Unless you have some sort of contract where you get more money for more wins you get or something like that, there's really no reason.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's bonuses, and John Gruden, I'm sure if he's 500 he gets
he
this,
needs
or if
a
he's
bonus for his
he gets
$10
this.
million a year contract.
Well, but my point is, players may also have that. Derek Carr may have something like that. If he wins 5-6 games in a season, he gets a little more money. Whatever. Either way, I don't see why you're even trying at this point. If you're really trying with this rebuild, stop winning football games. Or stop at least trying to win football games. It's not even like you are winning. Dump the games, throw them, bet on yourself to lose, pull a Pete Rose. You're not getting into the Hall of Fame anyways, and call it a day.
And on the losing end of things, I guess we can give a little bit of props to David Johnson for having another good game on the ground for Arizona, and for the fact that Josh Rosen, although he going 9 of 20 with 2 picks sounds like a terrible day. He did throw 3 touchdowns on only 9 completions, so there's that. He gets the consolation prize of the week. So anyway, we've talked too much about this terrible football game between these awful teams. So let's just move on before I start crying. Next up, we're into the later games, of course, of this week's action.
The at-home rout of the Bald Eagles.
This was so great. Let me say, listen, going into this,
man, it was Mardi Gras down there, and they were partying.
I think that going in, I think I said last week that this game kind of seemed to have blowout written all over it because it just seemed like such an awful matchup for Philadelphia. I mean, they just don't have the offensive consistency or firepower they're not explosive like they were last year. They just don't generate points in bunches like they did with Nick Foles and the way they had that ground game going last year. I mean, even with Golden Tate, it's not helping as far as their production goes, and Wentz had a really bad day throwing it, and the Saints are just utterly unstoppable right now. You look at what they're doing just every week. Drew Brees he's slinging it. Kamara is making plays happen every time he touches the ball. He's gaining 10, 20, 30 yards. They look completely unstoppable.
Oh, 100%. Let me ask you this. What is your opinion on benching Wentz for Nick Foles? You think that's an option at this point?
No.
He threw 3 interceptions and 156 yards in this game.
What are you getting out of Nick Foles? Nothing.
Potentially not 3 interceptions.
Carson Wentz is the franchise quarterback.
Nick Foles brought him to a Super Bowl.
I just said yes, but I gotta take that back. Look, Nick Foles, it was a fluke last year.
It was fun, but Nick Foles, no.
It was fun, but yeah.
All right, so let me ask you this: if the Eagles go into this week and they lose against the Giants, and I'm speaking completely hypothetically here, at home, which I'm picking the Eagles this week, so again, completely hypothetical. If the Eagles go into Philadelphia and lose against the Giants and Carson Wentz has another horrendous football game, do you reconsider your options?
There will be no chance.
All right, so you just keep riding the freezing cold hand of Carson Wentz.
This isn't Jameis Winston and Ryan Fitzpatrick. This isn't, we have 2 guys, we don't know who to pick. Carson Wentz is their guy. Nick Foles is just... All
right, so you just ride him out. All right.
You literally just ride him out.
Just wanted to see where you guys stood.
Let him learn. It's only his, 3rd year, 2nd year?
Yeah, it's his 3rd year. And
that's fair.
Yeah. But No, it's not going to take the sting off this loss, though, because the Saints are just... I mean, the fact that, like, the Eagles kind of zeroed in on Michael Thomas and then, like, Traquan Smith, what Breeze was able to do connected with him, so he just lit it up. And I mean, that just makes you think, how are you going to stop these Saints? They got so many weapons out there. They're just... At home, nobody wants to play this team in January.
Yeah, definitely not. Saints are unstoppable, and not really much more to say on that. They're probably going to keep winning. So let's move to the Vikings and the Bears.
Yes. This will be the final game of Week 11. This was our Sunday night matchup, and once again,
we already talked about the Chiefs and the Rams, so that makes sense.
We did. So here you had the Bears defense once again balling out. Khalil Mack having another monster game. What else is new? It feels like we're saying this every single week. Has to be one of the best trade acquisitions in recent memory in the National Football League, if you got to think about it. I mean, you just think about the instant ROI the Bears got when they made this deal with the Raiders. This guy has been imperative to their success this year. They're not on top of the division without him. And the Vikings, they're having kind of an inconsistent season, very off and on. And this offense, they're not taking good care of the football right now. Kirk Cousins, coming into this game, wasn't having a bad season by any stretch of the imagination. He does offer a lot of upside at quarterback, but as far as turning the ball over, you can't do that in a game like this important, this late in the season. So this is one of those games that could come back to haunt Minnesota later on, and it's looking like the wild card route for them. They've blown some key divisional battles now against Chicago and against Green Bay, so the Bears are looking like the class of that division. And props to the kicker, Parkey, for rebounding with some clutch kicks here after his bizarre performance the week before against Detroit.
You know what's for me, the highlight of this game? The fact that the Bears defense held the Vikings to 3 points into the fourth quarter. It was... the Vikings had only scored 3 points going in. They put up 17 in the fourth, which honestly the Bears probably just didn't really care at that point. They knew
one touchdown was in garbage time.
Exactly. So, they gave him a little bit of slack, and then one was in garbage time. So it's, this Bears defense is legit. I mean, absolutely. And the Vikings have a great offense. I mean, you look even just the top three performers. When you hear the names Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, and Stefon Diggs, I mean, those are guys you expect to put up big numbers and have a high-powered offense, and the Bears shut them down, legitimately shut them down through three quarters, and gave up, like I said, a couple of BS points late in the game, but they stopped them completely. I mean, this Bears team, Chase, you said it earlier, the sleeper pick. I mean, they are legit.
Yeah, they're legit, and I think the Vikings are. Now, I don't want to say they're a sham, but
are they phonies?
Are
they flukes?
All right, I want to say that they're Super Bowl phonies, and what I mean by this
You're
is
a big fat phony.
Hey, you know who lives in that house? A phony lives here.
Phony.
Exactly. And what I mean by that is, at the beginning of the year, people thought they could be a Super Bowl favorite, especially with the addition of Kirk Cousins over the offseason, the big contract. And I think that it's official that I can say this wholeheartedly, that they have no shot at winning the Super Bowl. They are not nearly as good, in my opinion, and I think it could be seen on both sides of the ball. They're not as good as the Rams on offense. They're not as good as the Bears on defense.
Or the Saints at anything.
Or the Saints. They don't have a better quarterback than any of these teams. Their running back, Dalvin Cook, who we all thought was going to be a superstar this year, can't stay on the field. And you got Adam Thielen, who's playing out of his mind, and it's just not going to be enough, in my opinion. I look at this team, hey, maybe they could make a wild card spot, but I don't think that they're doing anything special this year, and that makes them kind of a phony, in my opinion.
Everything they did last year is just looking so fluky now. I mean, you thought that, oh man, they overachieved so much last year. They have an elite defense, and they won 13 games with Case freaking Keenum. Imagine what's going to happen when they get a real quarterback. And instead, it's been they've gotten some production there, but all the other flaws of their game are just emerging, like you said. They're not having the consistency. They're kind of weak on defense in the secondary. They got an on and off pass rush, but I mean, they're just they haven't been able to build off of last year at all. It's really looking like last year would have been the year to get it, just because of the way that defense was shutting people down, and now they're just not doing enough to finish on either side to make you think they could beat any of the elite teams in the NFC. So if they do sneak in as a wild card, I'm thinking it's going to be one and done. I don't see how it turns out any differently.
I agree.
Yep.
That'll do it for Week 11, folks. In that game, we had let's see, who did we predict in that game? I believe that Mr. Austin was the only one who took the Bears there. The Chase and I took the Vikings.
Yeah, I took the
Yes,
Vikings.
sir.
Yep. So
Bears.
Yep. And speaking of the Bears, I think it's convenient that we're talking about them as the last game of Week 11 because we're about to segue into our Week 12 predictions, and we're talking about Turkey Day. We're talking about Thanksgiving. We're talking about
Turkey Day. It's the day to eat turkey and go to sleep.
Yep. But before
Was I supposed to like?
That
go
was
like-
my jingle, Chase.
Yeah.
I was waiting for a little.
I was gonna be like, ba-da-ba-ba.
Exactly. I was waiting for something there, and you didn't
I left
deliver.
you hanging.
Man, I'm disappointed.
I left you gobbling.
Wow.
What's that turkey neck? What's the thing? That's the neck called?
The gizzard.
The gizzard. I left you gizzarding.
That's
Hey,
all.
you know what?
That feels awkward. Say gizzarding right now. Say it.
Gizzarding.
It feels wrong. It feels dirty.
All right, so for this episode, not episode because it's not a new episode. Normally we do separate episodes, so I apologize. For the second half of this episode and for our picks, like we said before, if you missed it, we're going to do a dummy pick, so like a house pick. We're going to flip a coin for every game and see where it lands and see if they beat us. And it's going to be really fun. And then randomly I'm going to gobble through this because it's going to be hilarious.
That's
gobble
we'll make
through
it the turkey pick.
It's going to be the turkey pick. This week it's the
Thanksgiving,
turkey pick. Thanksgiving turkey pick.
All right. There's a coin right there.
I
Coin
like
right
it.
here.
Perfect.
All right, so we'll start off with the Bears at the Lions. Jared, why don't you kick this one off?
Yeah, so we got the Bears and the Lions, and this kicks off, of course, it's a Thanksgiving tradition that we always get a Lions and a Cowboys home game, and the first half of that tradition is the Lions always get embarrassed in front of their hometown faithful that insists on, you could stay home and have a nice home-cooked Thanksgiving meal, but instead we want to drag ourselves out to watch this miserable sham of a football team lose every year. So word to those Lions fans that are going to be putting themselves through the masochism this week.
I don't know, Jared. The Lions play pretty good at home.
They do pay better at home. I'll give you that, but I feel like they got their miracle win, so they're set for a few weeks. I don't think they're going to win consecutive games. I think that the Bears are going to beat this Lions team once again. Although they actually are, it's rare that you see two division rivals play each other so twice within a span of just a couple weeks. So that's a factor, and the way the Lions offense played against Go ahead, Chase.
I was going to say the Lions defense actually did pretty well of shutting down Mitchell Trubisky and the Bears offense last time they played. So I don't want anybody to. This is a 3.5 line right now in favor of the Bears. This could be a Lions win. This is not a definite in my opinion. We all have the Bears here because we believe that the Bears are the better team. But like you just saw with the Broncos game against the Chargers, the Lions can definitely win this game. This is not a guarantee, especially at home. They've already beat the Vikings, the Patriots, and now they beat the Panthers at home. They could beat the Bears at home. So I want everybody to just watch this game cautiously because I think it could be a trap.
I agree with your argument. I think that it could be a trap game, but I think it's worth noting that although the Lions defense did pretty all right against the Bears offense last time they squared off, they still fell down by a lot. They fell behind by a lot in that first matchup, and the Bears, we saw it before, this pass rush has what it takes to get after Matt Stafford, and the Lions offensive line is suspect to say the very least. There was that span where they allowed 16 sacks in 2 games. So I look for Khalil Mack to have another big game. I think the Bears are striving. They're hitting midseason form. They're just coming off a huge win over the Vikes, and I think that the offense is going to have a little bit easier time. I think they will do some damage against Detroit and pressure Stafford and get the win.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking the Bears in this one. I just said a few minutes ago, the Bears are legit this year. Even though Trubisky struggled a little bit, and honestly, didn't he get hurt?
He does have a shoulder problem, yes.
Yeah, so, let's keep an eye on that one. Either way, I'm still taking the Bears. Like I said, even though he had a little bit of trouble, I think he threw 2 interceptions, give or take, they still pulled it off with a phenomenal defensive performance, and I don't see that changing in this game. I'm taking the Bears in this one, regardless if Trubisky plays or not, to be completely honest.
Well, we'll have to see on that one. So we're all taking the Bears there. Moving on to the second.
No.
Oh wait,
Coin
I'm
flip.
sorry.
Let's see what the house takes.
Who does
Ready
the house
for
take?
the? It's the turkey pick. And that's a tails. So that's the home team. So they're taking the Lions.
Oh, is that how we're doing? Wait a minute. So that okay? I don't think you said the rules at first.
Yeah, tails is home, heads is away.
Tails is home, heads are away.
Well, whatever. I picked them. That's fair. I think tails is home, heads is away, top and bottom.
Gobble, gobble.
Gobble, gobble. Taking the Lions.
Okay, so the house takes the Lions on that one. We'll see how it turns out. Moving on to the second game of our Thanksgiving triple threat. I like the way that sounds. We got the Redskins at the Cowboys. The Cowboys, of course, always host a game on Thanksgiving as well. And this is the time of year where the Cowboys always get that Thanksgiving home win in front of their hometown faithful because they're America's team and everybody just loves them so much. And this is where everybody says, well, the Cowboys won on the holiday and they proved why they're so beloved and blah, 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 blah. This is their Super Bowl, so they're going to win, and people are going to think they're good, and then they're going to lose. The Redskins are coming into this game beat up, banged up, starting Colt McCoy, and such a pathetic
beat
offense.
Up, banged up, and would you say broken?
Yes.
Stop it.
Too soon. Too soon.
The Cowboys are going to win this game. I think that's pretty obvious to everyone, unless Colt McCoy or Mark Sanchez decides to have some sort of out of body experience.
I swear to God, Mark Sanchez, don't you dare.
So I'm going to take the Cowboys here. I think that probably run away with this game. Two touchdowns or more is my opinion personally. Also, let's not forget that Adrian Peterson is in this game too. So if the Redskins are to win this game, it's going to be Adrian Peterson running up the middle. So I don't think Colt McCoy or Mark Sanchez is going to do anything. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I have AP on my fantasy team, so I'm going to be starting him just out of principle that he's going to get the ball at least 174 times this game. So I'm taking the Redskins. I'm joking. I'm taking the Cowboys. Jared, who you got?
Oh, I'm taking the Cowboys all the way. I think that this is it's so easy to game plan for this game. You just got to feed the beast that is Zeke. You know that the defense has this pass rush is coming alive, and now they're going up against a patchwork offensive line and a quarterback that hasn't started a game in the NFL in several years. It's just easy pickings. It's such a bad matchup for Washington. I'd really be surprised if Dallas doesn't win this game by at least 10 points. And that's just what we need to tighten the gap in that NFC East race and make the Cowboys think they're good just in time for them to blow it again. We're all taking Dallas.
Let's see what the house takes. Another tails. Taking Dallas for the house pick here, so we're agreeing on that one.
We have our first 4-0.
We have our first 4-0, yes.
Yep. And let's see. We got our Thanksgiving Eve game between the Falcons and the Saints. The Saints are hosting. And after what the Saints have done to the Bengals and the Eagles, what do you think is going to happen to the Falcons?
I know what's going to happen to the Falcons.
Are their wings going to get clipped?
They're going to die.
Yeah, no, I agree with that one. The Falcons have not been great offensively the last few games, and I stated that a little earlier. Honestly, if I look it up, I can give you the exact numbers, but I just know for a fact that they have not been able to do a whole heck of a lot on offense, and I don't see that changing at all in this game. I mean, right now the Saints are favored by 12.5, and I know that the spread, if you will, doesn't always mean a whole heck of a lot in the game. The Saints are going to absolutely crush
12.5 for a division rival.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I think it may be a little closer, maybe a 10-point game. I don't know. But I don't see the Falcons doing anything productive here.
The Falcons have to win out in order to have a chance at making the playoffs as a wild card, and I absolutely don't think they're going to do that. But even if the playoffs weren't in play...
So you're giving the Giants more of a chance than the Falcons to win out?
Yeah, no, the reason I'm doing that is because of the fact that their division's wide open, and the Falcons, their division leader, is the best team in the NFL at this point. So, but that being said, the Falcons I think the Falcons are going to get up for this game. I think they're going to fall behind late because, I mean, nobody's been able to figure it out except for the Bucs in week 1. Nobody's been able to figure out how to beat the Saints. And I think the Falcons might play them hard for a little bit. They might hang with them in the first half for a while, but I see this getting away from them. I see the final score being like 41-27, maybe 41-24, something like that. You know what I mean? I think it won't be 48-7. So they're going to play them closer than the defending champs did. So there's that. They can hang their head on that. But it's very hard to see Drew Brees and Kamara and Thomas not having another monster day, putting up yardage. So the Saints, it's a fun time to be a Saints fan right now because the team, they just, every time they get the ball, you just think that it's a touchdown. Foregone conclusion.
Yeah, Saints offense is just rolling right now. They really can't be stopped on all sides. Every wide receiver, running back, quarterback, everybody right now is just going absolutely wild. So, like you said, fun to be a Saints fan, fun to be New Orleans native, if you will. And the house on that one is also taking the home team here. So we got another Saints pick for the house. I guess the house knows pretty well, huh?
The house is kind of biased, I think. They're taking the home team every time.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Maybe the coin's weighted in the tail side.
Uh-huh.
You know, I just realized I have a two-tailed quarter.
Hey! Shenanigans!
Shenanigans!
Unbelievable. So moving on to Sunday action. Sunday. We've got the Seahawks at the Panthers in what has suddenly become a super duper duper important game in the NFC wildcard race. Let's talk about this game for a little bit, guys.
Yeah, this is gonna be. This is probably gonna be who gets in the sixth spot, in my opinion.
The fifth spot.
I'm sorry, the fifth spot. I said the sixth. I meant the fifth. Whoever gets in the fifth spot.
11-7.
I think that if the Seahawks win this game, they're gonna take the 5 seed, and I think if the Panthers win this game, they're gonna take the 5 seed. However, if the Seahawks lose this game, I don't think that they get in the playoffs at all. I think that this is the one game that they really need to win to get in. If they can't beat the Panthers, I don't see them getting into the playoffs at all. I think that the 6th seed is going to fall to somebody else, somebody like maybe the Colts, the Colts are in the AFC. What I meant to say, whoops, was maybe somebody like the Vikings or somebody like the Packers. I don't think both of those teams. I don't think that it's going to be the Vikings and the Packers in. I think it's going to be somebody else. So this is very important, and it's a recipe for a good low-scoring game. The Seahawks are going to be able to run the ball on the Panthers pretty easily. I think they do have a strong defensive front, but the Panthers really lack any secondary. So it's going to be a low-scoring game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Panthers are going to win this game. I think the Seahawks are not quite as good away from home, and the Panthers need a bounce back after losing 2 straight. But this game, it's really going to change the whole landscape of the wild card picture because if the Panthers, I think regardless of the outcome, you're going to see the Vikings, Packers, and the Cowboys and Redskins, their ears kind of perk up because this game, one of 2 things is going to happen. Either the Seahawks fall to 5-6, which could knock them almost make it kind of a long shot for them to get into the playoffs, so taking one contender out of the picture. Or if the Seahawks win, all of a sudden you've got both those teams at 6-5, and it kind of puts everybody on a level playing field. Everybody's kind of hovering around 500, so that makes it very wide open. So regardless of the outcome, it's exciting. But like I said, I think that the Panthers need a bounce back game here. I think that they've got maybe a little bit more talent on the defensive side of the ball, dare I say, just because of how depleted Seattle is. It's also a very, very long trip for them. Let's not forget that they got to go all the way from Washington to Charlotte. So I think that's going to be a factor. I think the fact that the Panthers need, again, that win to get back on track, and they've got too good of a team to keep losing for this long. So I'm going to go with Carolina, but I agree this kind of has the makings of a 17-13 type game.
Yeah, I have the Panthers here too.
Yep. Going with the Panthers also. Right across the board, Panthers. Let's see what the house does. Oh, and there we go. The first heads going with the away team, and the house is taking the Seahawks.
So you're saying that the house is the 12th man?
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
Interesting. Never thought about it that way.
Yes, sir. So we're
Next
all...
up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jared.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, yeah, the humans on the call are all taking the Panthers, and the house takes the Seahawks in that one. But moving on, we've got...
The turkey pick.
We've got another Tank Bowl as the 49ers play the Buccaneers.
Why did all the bad teams play each other? Why?
Literally. I'm sorry. The
Cardinals 49ers. Cardinals Bucks. Bucks Giants. Bucks 49ers.
Why can't the NFL just step in and be like, you know what, you guys suck, just take a week off?
Bills 49ers. Bills Bucks. Like there seems to be 3 bad games a week that I could just literally not pay attention to.
Chase, could you imagine if the 49ers had stayed healthy, if they were actually like any good this year? Look at what their schedule would have been.
They would be undefeated because the teams they have played are utter trash.
But because they're a shell of a football team,
yep,
they're going to lose this game. I'm taking Tampa Bay in this game because Tampa Bay has now lost 7 of 8 games, I believe, because they started 2-0 and now they're 3-7. But like we said during the recap portion, they still have the NFL's top offense as far as yards per game, and the Niners are, come on, can you really trust them with Nick Mullins? I mean, they got extra rest coming into this game, but it's also a very long trip for them. They're going all the way from San Fran to Tampa Bay, and I just think that they did put up a lot of points in that Thursday game against the Raiders, but apart from that, I think that Tampa, no matter, I mean, they keep going back and forth. Now they're on the Jameis kick as far as the quarterback goes. I think that they're going to put up enough points to win this game, and they're playing at home. The 49ers, again, they're soft, so I like Tampa.
I'm not picking a team that can't pick their quarterback. If they can't pick who their quarterback is, I can't pick them. That's my opinion.
Okay.
So I'm taking the 49ers here. I'm sorry. You can't just be like, oh, you suck for a quarter, you're out. Oh, you suck for a quarter, you're out. How many changes are you going to make? Pick a guy, stick with him, and then if it turns out bad, it turns out bad.
Yeah, what are you, the Bills?
No, that's because they want to stick with Josh McCown, but they can't because he's hurt.
He just keeps getting hurt. No, yeah. I know. I completely agree, Chase. I mean, there's just too much turmoil in that quarterback position there. I mean, they might as well flip a coin to see who's picking their quarterback.
Right, exactly. All right, Jameis, your head's Ryan. Your tails.
How do you know that that's not what Dirk Cutter's doing?
They very well might be at this point. They're probably like, yeah, well, screw this season's over. Let's see who gets to play.
And
this week.
poor Mike Evans is like, I have no idea who's throwing the ball to me this week.
Yeah, literally.
He's such a good player, and he's just dying in there. It's just like DeAndre was dying before Deshaun Watson came to the Texans. I just feel bad.
Yeah, no doubt about that one. I'm taking the 49ers in this one also. The Buccaneers are just way too inconsistent with how they play, and even though the 49ers are bad, they're at least consistently bad, so maybe they will somehow pull this game out. Honestly, I have zero idea why I'm picking either team in this game. It's not a game that I'm going to watch. It's not a game that I care about. This is just I threw a dart and it landed in San Francisco instead of Tampa Bay. So we're going with the 49ers. Chase is going with the 49ers. Jared's going with the Bucks. The house says, all right, I was doing this digitally on my phone and it's frozen. We're going to flip an actual coin because that's how coins work.
Wait, what? Yeah. You've been cheating this whole time?
I haven't been cheating. Heads, 49ers.
It's
Heads. Oh, yeah, the 49ers are the road team. All right, well, I'm a one-man army here. So that'll do it for that game. It doesn't matter, really.
Are you a one-man army or are you a one-man pirate ship?
Arg!
That was terrible. Let's go on to the Jaguars.
Now let's go to another game that everybody wants to see. All of a sudden, this game has become exactly what you would expect over the last 10 years in the NFL. Both these teams.
All right. Let me say this. At the beginning of the season, if I told you on Sunday, November 25th at 1 p.m., the Jaguars at the Bills line was 3.5 points in favor of the Jaguars, would you believe me?
Nope.
Because I would think it's at least a dozen.
Listen, the Jags aren't winning this game.
No. I'm taking the Jaguars, but I still don't think they have any shot.
No.
This game is just
that doesn't
so
make any
bad.
sense. If you don't think they have any shot, why are you taking them?
Because the Bills can't beat themselves.
No, the Bills are winning this game. Bills are going to win this game with hard-nosed defense, and it's going to be 9-6, and it's going to be horrible, and they're going to win, and I'm going to laugh because the Jags are literally just showing up as last year was a joke. Last year was a fluke. This is not the team that they were.
Might as well have Joe Flacco as your quarterback.
He's
a fluke.
Honestly, they might have Joe Flacco as their quarterback next year.
So this is the part where you remember that these teams played in one of the worst playoff games in recent memory when the Jaguars beat them 10-3 last year.
I see there. I wasn't even thinking of that.
Mm-hmm. This is a postseason rematch. I think.
Oh my God! This is a postseason rematch.
Mm-hmm.
from last year, and they're both, 2-8?
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, this season has been a disaster for Jacksonville, and by the same token, the Bills have won, I'd say, 3 more games than people thought they would have at this point, so they deserve credit. I think Jacksonville will be able to build off of their performance against Pittsburgh, even though it's the classic formula of you absolutely blew it at home, and now you have to go on the road. You got to go up north. You're a warm weather team going to Buffalo, but I just think Buffalo is so soft, and I don't think Barkley can. It's gonna be Matt Barkley again, right?
I have zero
Yeah,
idea.
right. I don't think. I mean, I don't think he's going to repeat that performance against the Jets. That was a division rivalry game. I think the Jaguars can win this again. I mean, we keep saying that at some point the losing has to stop, but I mean, come on, man, you got to beat Buffalo, right? Like, you got to beat Buffalo, right?
I have no idea.
Otherwise, you're worse than they are. And I mean,
like I said, I have zero idea. This game is just an absolute mess. I have zero interest. Another game that I just don't care about.
Gosh, what happened? What happened to Jacksonville? I do think they got Fournette back. I'm going to take him, but this game's going to stink. If it could be, I think the score's going to be like 13-10 or something.
Yeah, very well could be.
Yeah,
this game sucks.
I'm taking the Jags. Chase, you got the Bills. Austin, you got the Jags. You said.
Yes.
What's the house say?
The house says. Yeah, I dropped the quarter. Tails.
Oh, so the Bills.
Going with the Bills on the house.
Because the house is always right, which means I'm right.
Cool. Yeah, so that's that. Next up, we got the Raiders at the Ravens. I talked about this a little bit in the recap portion, how I think that you're going to see more of the same with Lamar Jackson building off of his excessive running against the Bengals. Are going to do more of the same against the Raiders, mainly because the Raiders have an utterly embarrassing defense, and you can do whatever you want against them. So I think the Ravens are going to be like, hey, it worked against Cincinnati. We're just going to do the same thing here. You got the Oakland Raiders traveling all the way to Baltimore in this lost, miserable season in this game that they're better off losing. They're going to phone it in. It's going to suck.
Yeah, I definitely have the Ravens in this one, and probably by a lot, to be completely honest. The Ravens defense is very good. And in Lamar there, I can't even remember his last name. Was it Jackson?
Yes, it's Lamar Jackson.
Thank you. I don't know why I wanted to call him Jackson, and then I thought I was wrong. Lamar Jackson.
To Miss Jackson, we're sorry.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I am for real.
You're the worst.
Never
Okay. He's gonna run all over the Raiders. I hate you guys. Moving on, we're gonna flip the coin because this game's also irrelevant. Tails. Even the house knows the Ravens are gonna win this one.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson, I think, is gonna showcase his talent again, and John Gruden, John Gruden.
Irrelevant either way.
Mr. Gruden is not going to be able to control
Mr.
Lamar
Gruden,
Jackson.
You're a mean one, Mr. Gruden.
Okay, Austin has to get in his stupid joke to supplant ours.
Yep.
I like it.
Browns at Bengals. What are we thinking here, boys?
I think that the Browns, they got some extra rest coming into this game, and I think they showed some life when they beat the Falcons recently at home, and this is a road game against a rival that's reeling at this point, and the Bengals desperately need a win to stay in contention, but they're playing bad football, and I just think the Browns are playing loose. You know, they got the bad coach, the bad offensive coordinator out of the picture. They got the young talent.
They got the juices flowing. They got Condoleezza Rice coming in for an interview. They are prepped and ready to go.
Yes, yeah, they do. Yes, they do.
All right, Chase, why the hell are you taking the Bengals in this game?
Because the Bengals aren't that bad.
The Browns aren't that bad either.
They're not, but they're playing at home. If this was in Cleveland, I may change my answer to the Browns, but it's in Cincinnati.
I don't think the location matters that much. They play in the same state.
They have Joe Mixon.
Does only a 3-point favorite to the Bengals change your mind? Because that's literally only because they're home.
That's exactly what. So Vegas believes in me too. So Vegas believes that if this was in a neutral site, it would be a tie. Basically, it'd be a pick 'em. If it was in if it was in Cleveland, it would be 3 to the Browns. So that's why I also think that the Bengals should be favorited here. They are the better team playing at home. And I know AJ Green's probably not going to be back, but I think Joe Mixon and company are going to be enough to stop the Browns.
All right.
Ugh.
This is what we're going to do.
The Bengals defense has
This
looked
is
so
what we're
bad
gonna do.
lately, though.
This is what we're going to do.
They're still 5-5.
This is what we're going to do. Wheel of punishment, me and you.
Sure.
Bengals, Browns.
Bengals, Browns.
What are we doing? We doing the water balloon challenge there?
Sure, whatever.
All right, we're actually going to film it this time. It's going to happen. We're going to watch this game, and then that night we're going to go out and peg each other with water balloons. Maybe Monday during the day.
Probably not the night. Yeah,
We'll
probably
see.
during the day.
We'll see. Well, it'll get
Maybe
over at 4.
Monday at 5 p.m. or
All
something
right, yeah,
like that.
fair. We're going to peg each other with water balloons. Whoever loses
Guys,
gets
you
pelted.
can't do it at 5 p.m. It gets dark at 4:30.
Oh, you're right.
We'll figure it out. We'll put some lights up. Turn the car lights on. I don't really care. It's
I
gonna
like it.
happen.
Like an old football game.
Like an old school football game, baby. Take out the trucks, turn on the lights, play some foosball.
I like
It's going to
it.
happen.
I like it.
All right.
Who's the
punishment.
house taking?
Ooh, let's see. House says heads. House says heads. Browns. Ooh.
Love it.
Change the damn thing.
Come on, man. All right. If I lose, I will pelt my house with water
I was gonna
balloons.
say, can I also pelt your house?
Yeah, I'm going to pelt the house with water balloons, and Sarah's going to get really mad at me.
Moving on. We got the Giants at the Eagles. This is a huge game. As we said earlier.
Believe me, the Eagles are going to win this football game. Believe me. I know football better than anybody. Believe me, I'm the greatest.
Fake news. It's fake news.
That was my pick, by the way, and Donald Trump's apparently.
Well,
So,
go ahead.
before Jared goes off on his Giants escapade, I'm actually going to take the Giants here as well.
Oh yeah.
And it's because I want to see them play. I want to see them beat a tough team. They haven't beat a good team yet. They've only beat. Well, actually, they beat
the Texans.
I forgot they beat the Texans. So they haven't won against a competitive team in 3 months or 2 months or something like that. So I want to see them, and this is probably their best chance to get revenge after the Eagles absolutely demolished them in New York. Giants have a lot of momentum going for them. The Eagles do not have a lot of momentum going for them. They're two teams that look to be heading in opposite directions. I really think that the Giants have found a formula that succeeds for them on offense and defense. And if they do win this game, this could spark a ridiculous run.
Don't say
Yes.
I'll just say run.
Yes.
All right.
You're absolutely
say
right.
run.
You're
2
absolutely
in a row, it's a coincidence. 3 in a row means they have something going. That's
2 in a row is a winning streak.
2 in a row is a coincidence. 1's lucky. 2 in a row is a coincidence. 3 means you got something going. So this will be the deciding factor for me.
I think the Eagles are going to win this one at home. The Giants are looking good. I'll give them that. They're playing a little more tenacity. You're right, Jared. You said it before. That offensive line without, dead Flowers over there is dead Flowers. He was obviously a major catalyst on that offensive line and for how badly they were playing. The Giants are looking a lot better than they were. I'll give them that. Obviously, I picked them last week. I just think the Eagles need a comeback game here, and I think the Giants are the perfect opponent to do it against at home. The Eagles season is looking very terrible right now, and they really need to pick me up, and I think they're going to come into this game with a fire lit under them. I don't think it's going to be a blowout or a shootout. I think it's going to be a very close game, maybe a last-minute field goal. Could be like 4 points at the end, Giants going for a touchdown to win it kind of thing. But I don't see the Giants pulling this one out. I'm going with the Eagles.
I think the Giants are due for a big win over their biggest rival because they've lost their last 4 games against Philadelphia. Last time they beat them was at home in the 2016 season. So this game, everything is at stake, and I feel like Odell, he kind of lit a fire under this team when he said, hey, the goal's to win out. We got 8. It wasn't impossible to lose 7 games. It's not impossible to win 8 games. I just think
it's a lot easier to lose 7 games than it is to win 8.
Well, sure.
Just saying.
But like you said, the teams look to be trending in opposite directions. I think the Giants have found an offense the last couple of weeks. I think the offensive line is playing so much better with Jim Brown and without Eric Flowers.
I think they played the Buccaneers. and that's why they had an offense.
Well, yeah, but against the Niners too. So it's back to back. They got some rhythm, and the Eagles.
They played the two of the worst teams in football.
Yeah.
They found an offense because the other team wasn't even there. They played two Pop Warner football teams, Jared.
The Eagles are banged up with injuries, and the Giants.
They're not as bad as the Buccaneers and the 49ers.
They have like fourth and fifth string cornerbacks.
They're still not as bad as the 49ers and the Buccaneers.
There is a world where Odell goes for like 200 yards on this team.
I'm not saying he's not going to. I'm just saying that the Giants are going to win.
And not just that, but the Giants have talent. They've got talent on defense as well. This isn't a shutdown unit, but this is still a unit that can create turnovers. And Wentz, you saw he had a tough day throwing it in New Orleans. So I just think that everything is at stake. I feel like the team is geeing up for this game. They're finally playing meaningful football again. I feel like they've been waiting for this opportunity, and the whole season's at stake. I think they're going to come out and play and beat their rivals.
I don't at all. Let's see what the house says. House says tails. Going at the Eagles.
Ugh.
House is on my side, baby.
Well, that's because there's an eagle on the coin on the bottom.
That is accurate.
Exactly. Caw-caw!
Go figure. So now we have another
bald eagle, if anyone was wondering.
Yeah.
Symbolizes freedom.
So, that's
Speaking of freedom, Patriots at Jets.
Yeah. I think Tom Brady's going to have a lot of freedom in this game as far as throwing the ball.
That's a good way to put it.
And the Patriots are going to soar over the Jets. Get it? Get it?
Yeah, it's going to be like the Boston Massacre, but it's in New York.
Jesus Christ, guys.
This game is going to be 35-8.
Why 8?
Next question.
That's such a weird... Why
see who the house takes.
Next question.
Why would
Tom
it be
Brady
8?
And Bill Belichick are going to take out all their revenge on this team.
All right. The house is taking the Jets. What do we do here?
We run in the Jets.
Wheel of punishment, the house? How does this happen?
Hey, the house is the house.
Man, if the house wins this game...
There's no chance in hell that the Patriots lose this game.
Agreed. Especially after they lost to the Titans, and the fact that
they're going to just...
I mean, you gotta remember that seeding is at stake for the Patriots now. They're actually in a position where they have to practically win out in order to overtake the Steelers and get into that number 2 or maybe even number 1 slot. So, I mean, they could beat the Jets in their sleep, and now they have motivation. Ugh. Austin?
Gronk is also returning this week.
Oh, boy.
I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say in this game. The Patriots are 9.5-point favorites on the road, so really they're 12.5-point favorites. They're going to stomp all over the Jets. Chase might have honestly been nice. Would you say 35-8?
Yeah, I don't know where I got 8 from. It just came to me.
You might have been nice. I don't know. Did they go for the 2-point conversion in the fourth quarter just to put some faith in themselves? I don't know.
35-0, and then they score late in the fourth.
They score late in the fourth and go for 2 just to separate the deficit a little bit.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, no, we're just going to move on from that. When the Patriots are absolutely going to smoke the Jets, the house says otherwise. Cardinals, Chargers.
Cardinals and Chargers. Chargers, next.
Here we go again. Another one.
Am I going here?
If you got anything to add, I mean, I wouldn't blame you. There ain't much to say here.
Do we have... Chargers are going to win? Next question. No,
exactly. 35-8.
Yeah, no, the Chargers are going to demolish the Cardinals because just like the Patriots, they are going to be super pissed off that they lost last week. So Chargers are at home again. They're not going to lose 2 home games to 2 teams that are below 500. There's no way. There's just no way.
Yeah,
Chargers win.
They got Joey Bosa healthy on defense now, and Josh Rosen got intercepted twice by the freaking Oakland Raiders. So he couldn't even complete half of his passes against that defense. So with the Chargers being able to put him under pressure, this is going to get ugly.
Yep, and the house agrees. Going with another tails pick here, and the Chargers are the house pick.
Good.
Gobble, gobble.
Next up, we have an interesting game. We have the Steelers at the Broncos. I'm going to surprise you guys here. I'm actually going to take the Broncos in this game. I think the Broncos I think they're going to win.
Yes.
I think
the Broncos.
Drinking the Kool-Aid, Jared. You're drinking the Kool-Aid.
Sip from the fountain of youth.
I believe that the Steelers, they showed some mortality when they were dominated for 3 quarters in Jacksonville. And now they have to make a very long road trip going all the way from Florida to Denver against a team that plays very well at home. Granted, the Steelers play in cold weather, so that's not going to be a factor, but the Broncos, we know they're a better home team than road team. And now the Broncos have a little bit of momentum. They should be very desperate here because this is kind of their season. They could, if they win, they've got a glimmer of hope in the wild card race. And if they lose, it's pretty much over. At 4-7, I don't think they would have much of a shot at that point. I don't think they're going to get in, but I do think they're going to win this game because the Steelers are, like I said, they got momentum. They're coming off a huge win, but you really think they're going to go like 13-2-1? They got to lose another game or two at some point. I think. I don't think they're going. I don't think they're going to win out. So I'm going to go with Denver.
Gentlemen, there's one game that happened in Denver. Mile High Stadium.
Oh God!
It was a playoff game.
Are we going to Tebow here?
Oh my
gosh!
It was
the first ever overtime playoff game with the new rules. And Tim Tebow play action and threw it to Demaryius Thomas, who's not a Bronco anymore.
Neither is Tim Tebow.
For 75 yards and a touchdown against the Steelers. They were heavy favorites. The Steelers were in that game, and the Steelers are going to be favorites again this week. I got the Broncos. They're hot. They're going to win this one. Maybe get on a little streak. We'll see. But I honestly think that they are probably going to win this one. If not, I'll be very surprised.
I'm going to Steelers. Steelers just look great right now. And with the whole Le'Veon thing out of the way, and it's not in the headlines anymore. It's out of the locker room. There's none of that. Their morale and their chemistry and their camaraderie is definitely up. They don't have to deal with any of the BS, any of the media, any of the dumb questions. Is he showing up? Is he not? Who cares? Let him stay in Miami. He can play for the Dolphins next year. Get him out. And the Steelers are playing great right now. Wide receivers are playing great. Smith-Schuster's showing up. Obviously, Connor's been there all season. Ben Roethlisberger is still Big Ben. Their defense is looking just as good as their offense. I think they're a top-tier team right now, and I really see them pulling this one out against the Broncos. Nothing against the Broncos. Chase, you're right. They are hot. They're on a streak. They're looking really good. I just don't see the Broncos winning this one against the Steelers.
Well, we shall see. But what does the house say? That's the important question here.
Gobble gobble. House goes with another home game.
Denver Broncos,
Denver
baby.
Broncos.
Yeah.
Man, the house really likes the home team. Boom-ch.
Well,
Get it because it's a house.
Get it because it's a house and it's the home team. Man, I am just.
I made that joke oh man, wow.
Say that
doesn't count.
Exactly.
Next game, we've got the Dolphins at the Colts in an absolute barn burner, which Brock Osweiler.
Wait, hang on a second. This is prime time, isn't it?
No, it's 4:25. Vikings Packers.
Yeah.
4:25. Oh, so that means that you know what? Oh, I'm sorry.
Get ahead of yourself here.
You're absolutely no. Yeah, you're right.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Thank God.
The Dolphins against the Colts. Andrew Luck is a 8.5 point favorite against. Right now is Brock Osweiler, but could potentially be Ryan Tannehill.
They're saying he's on
Tannehill's
track to
still
come
coming back from a shoulder surgery. Actually, no, I'm not. I don't actually think he has surgery. Just an injury that has kept him out for 5 weeks.
Yep.
So there has been talks that he can throw the ball. They just haven't thrown the ball downfield with him yet. So he's questionable for this game. We'll see how he feels. If he plays, I think that the Dolphins have a much better chance, but I still think that the Colts at home, who are surging, are still going to take this one.
Yeah, I think that the Titans have more talent on defense than the Dolphins do, and the Colts were able to put 38 up on them when they were coming into the game with momentum after they just creamed the Patriots. So even at their best, and when I say that I mean with Ryan Tannehill, I don't think the Dolphins are going to put up points to that degree on the road, even though the conditions obviously won't be a factor in a dome. This isn't a common case of a warm weather team coming up north. I don't think they have the heart to win this game. I don't think they're a tough team. I think they're soft. I don't think that they have the will to win. I think that if they're going to, beat a surging team like this, it's going to be at home by a hair, by kind of a fluke. On the road, I don't trust them to get it done. I think that Andrew Luck is slinging it, and the Dolphins have looked pretty, honestly, horrible with Osweiler as a quarterback. Apart from that one fluke win over Chicago and that ugly win over the Jets, they haven't looked like a good team at all. So, Colts all the way.
I am also taking the Colts in this one. Dolphins are just not a good team this year. Colts are on fire right now. They're favored by a lot in this one. I think they're going to pull it out. Won't be by a lot, but they're definitely going to take the win. Jesus, the house just loves the home teams. I swear to God, this coin is freaking weighted. They're going with the home team again.
Well, that settles
which is the Colts, if you're wondering, Jared.
We got a clean sweep here, folks. So moving on, we got another Sunday night game because the Vikings are just, so special. Woo, it's prime time. Time to watch Minnesota lose again. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, because I think they're going to lose.
They're favored in this one. I don't know.
No, they're going to lose. Listen.
They're going to lose.
Listen, Aaron Rodgers is a warrior. I know that the Packers don't have a deep team by any means. They might not even make the playoffs. But this is a classic case, I think, of the season is on the line and the best quarterback of the NFL is going to show up, put his team on his back, and will them to victory. And I think the Vikings' propensity for turnovers could potentially doom them in this game because we talked about the preview how they just haven't been as dominant as they should be on either side of the ball. And although they're at home in this game coming off a tough loss, I think the Packers are going to be more desperate here. I think this is just going to be the game where Aaron Rodgers is going to be like, "Give me the ball." Like it's going to be his show all day long or all night long here, and I think he's going to will them to win. It's going to be sheer force of will. It's not going to be the prettiest game. It's not going to be the cleanest game. It's not going to be the Rams and the Chiefs as far as that goes, but I do think
obviously it's not going to be Rams Chiefs.
No. I'm saying going into the season, you would have thought that like, oh yeah, this would be like a marquee offensive matchup. It's not going to be like that, but I do think the Packers are going to get that season-saving win.
I believe that this game is going to come down to Clay Matthews and being able to put pressure on Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has a tendency to fumble the ball. He holds the ball too long, can't get rid of it. A lot of strip sacks in Kirk Cousins' career. If Clay Matthews can get some outside pressure on him, I believe that he makes the game-changing play at the end of this game to seal the victory for the Packers. I believe that Aaron Rodgers throws for 3 touchdowns in this game, and Aaron Jones will probably rush for 80 yards, 100 yards or so, and I'm thinking that this will be more high scoring than you think. Probably high 20s, low 30s in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that.
Both teams have offenses that can score, and I'm not really scared of either's defense.
I'm taking the Vikings in this one. I think the Packers are on a downward spiral right now. There's a lot of rumors that McCarthy might be out at the end of the season. Honestly, I think if they lose this one, I don't think they'll get rid of him before the end of the season. But I mean, if they lose to the Vikings in this one, I don't see why they wouldn't pull the trigger. It's not looking good in Cheeseland right now. I see the Vikings pulling this one out. Honestly, they have a very high-powered offense, and I think they've been struggling all season. And even on defense, they have a lot of big-name guys back there that can really pull this off. They've been underperforming to what everybody thought they could do, and I really think they need to go on a little bit of a hot streak here. And I think it starts with the struggling Packers.
What does the house say?
The house says, thank God we got a heads pick. It's against me, but I'm happy because it's not a home pick. They're going with the Packers.
All righty.
Cheeseland.
Yeah, the house had to come around at some point. So
yeah,
that's pretty cool. Then we got our Monday night game. And, hey, good for ESPN. You know, they've had a really tough season as far as these Monday night matchups go, but now they have back-to-back meaningful Monday night football games. This isn't going to be quite the barn burner that the Rams and the Chiefs were, but we got the Titans at the Texans, which is a huge game in the AFC South. The Titans season is potentially on the line here. I'd say their division hopes are on the line, and they have already beaten Houston once. However, this is a second straight divisional road game for them. The Texans are obviously smoldering hot. They're riding a 7-game winning streak, and they're playing with the bright lights in front of their hometown faithful. I think they're going to come out rocking and rolling here. And I don't know how badly Mariota was hurt in that game against the Colts, but I do think the Texans' offense is in a completely different place than it was the first time these teams met. So I look for Houston to continue their winning ways.
I've got the Titans here because they should not win this game, and they're going to win this game. Literally, that's my analysis. My analysis is that they should not win this game, and they're going to win this game because the Texans are red hot. The Titans are coming off a terrible loss, but guess what? It's a division game, and these teams always play each other close, and for some reason, the Titans are going to get some sort of bounce, some sort of trickery. Something's gonna happen where the Titans end up
Tomfoolery.
Yeah, some tomfoolery where the Titans end up winning this game, and unfortunately, I think that the Texans are not gonna win out.
You know why I think the Texans are going to win? Anybody?
Why is that?
Why?
Because they got to win out, and they're going to win out, and they will win out. They gotta win out.
They're gonna lose.
Sounds good to me. I mean,
I was expecting somebody else to jump in there. To be completely honest, the Texans are on fire. They're on a 7-game win streak, and I think they're going to make it an 8-game win streak here. They're going to continue to win out. They're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to win the Super Bowl. No, I don't know if I'm going that far, but they're definitely going to win this game. The Titans are just obnoxious, Chase. You're totally right. They shouldn't win this game, and they won't win this game. The Texans are going to take this one at home Monday night. The house says, God damn it, house. They're going with the Titans.
Oh, man.
God, you're so annoying, house.
House doesn't know how to have fun.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So that's going
to...
Oh, yeah. That's the way the coin fell, folks. So that's just the way it went. The house and Chase take the Titans. Austin and I take the Texans because they're just so gosh darn fun to watch and watch them win, and I hope they do win out at this point.
And stuff.
Yeah, as long as they lose the Super Bowl to the Giants.
Oh God, stop with the Giants for God's sake!
I can't wait.
Right,
I'm gonna shove it in your face so bad when they win, when they beat the Eagles. Oh, it's coming.
It's not.
I love it.
Just like their W is not coming because they're gonna lose. So that's our episode. Thank you for sticking around with us for a longer episode.
I told you the show was not going to go 2 hours, and we're a few minutes shy.
Yeah, we're a few minutes shy. We're sorry that it went so long. We decided a few weeks ago that we were going to break it up and go with 2 episodes so that you didn't get lost or bored in the conversation. We really hope that you didn't this week. But we wanted to go with 1 episode so that you can enjoy your Thanksgivings with your families and listen to this a little early. It is Tuesday now, so it's going to be uploaded tonight and ready for Wednesday, so you can listen, get all the Thursday games in, and be excited for Turkey Day, Football Day, and hanging out with your families, doing your thing. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, have a happy and safe holiday. Drive safe, don't drink and drive, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
We love you guys. Thanks for listening as always and sticking around for the long episode this week.
Yeah, and be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Follow us on all our social platforms right then and there. And again, you can check this show out on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and Libsyn. And of course, so we upload to YouTube as well. So continue to give us your feedback, spread the good word, and we hope that you're enjoying listening as much as we are enjoying recording.
Yes, and just one little quick shout out to a local friend of ours and another podcast. We're going to be doing a joint co-host venture in the very near future with a podcast called Inside the Setlist. They're a local music podcast. They have some bigger name bands on as guests and a lot of local bands on as guests. They're at a lot of the local shows that I also go to, a lot more rock kind of stuff. But they are going to have us on to talk about some local music, which we are into. They're fellow Shiprockers, which is a carnival cruise that we go on every year with a bunch of rock bands. It's a great time. And they are also avid baseball and Yankee fans. So keep an eye out for that little joint co-host venture there in the near future. A little shout out to them and thanks for them hooking us up. And that's all we got this week. We're gonna call it an episode there. And as always, Jared, who are we?
Well, this has been Call to the Bullpen.
And Chase, what do we do?
Hanging up.
See ya.